After discovering that there is a civilization of humans dominated by technology outside of Earth, a robot must save the world's only plant before the horde of evil machines destroys it. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie WALL-E from 2008. On planet Earth full of garbage and pollution, a robot called WALL-E piles up various pieces of junk and compresses them into squares, which are perfectly organized. The little robot walks around the rubble together with a cockroach, then arrives at a place where there is a projection, in which a video of an advertisement about the company BNL talks about traveling in a spaceship. The project is designed for humans and the robots are only there to work. WALL-E arrives at his makeshift home, where there are various gadgets, such as a rotating cabinet in which he keeps his trinkets found at the dump. What's more, there's a television in the room, where the little one watches a couple of humans in love, which thrills him. Later that day, while taking out the garbage, the robot observes the stars and an alert is triggered in its system. It then realizes that a sandstorm is fast approaching. At the same moment, the robot closes the door to his house to protect himself. The next day, an alarm on WALL-E's body warns him that his system has run out of solar energy. So he goes to the roof to get some sunlight. As he leaves his house, he accidentally runs over and crushes the cockroach, but it gets up seconds later as if nothing had happened. The robot then returns to its job of crushing scrap metal into squares and collects some things that could be useful, such as toys, a ring box and even a fire extinguisher. WALL-E uses squares to build the foundation of a building in the midst of dozens of buildings made of garbage. During his work, he finds a plant growing among the rubble and decides to take it home. Upon entering the house, the robot realizes that there is a laser very close to it, so it chases the light, which runs further and further away from the house. However, he doesn't realize that there are several lights around him that are getting closer. When the laser that the little robot was chasing stops at a specific spot, all the others gather and form a circle. Then WALL-E realizes that something is approaching Earth. Suddenly, an explosion occurs and rocket boosters appear around the robot. The robot trembles with fear as the aircraft begins to release some kind of machine, which scans everything in front of it. Nevertheless, he approaches it. Suddenly, a capsule opens and out pops a highly technological probe called EVA. The machine scans the surroundings of the rocket, which takes off abruptly and scares WALL-E. He observes the probe flying over in a delicate way, which amazes him. After a few minutes, the little robot knocks over a rock, which alerts Eva, who fires her gun at it. This causes a huge explosion and a hole is blown in the rock next to the little junkyard robot. The probe looks for something among the rubble and the cockroach approaches with curiosity, but receives a shot from Eva. Even so, the insect lives on and makes friends with the unknown machine. At the same moment, WALL-E laughs at the situation and becomes the newcomer's target once again. She approaches the little guy and realizes that he's not a threat, so she leaves. Later, the machine enters an abandoned establishment and realizes that it is being watched by the rusty little robot. Shortly afterwards, WALL-E finds Eva asleep and spends the night working on something. The next day, the probe finds a sculpture made of scrap metal, but she doesn't care about the gift, which leaves the little robot disappointed. She then scans various objects and gets stuck in a giant magnet. Eva then uses her powerful weapon to destroy the magnet and all the surrounding ships. WALL-E approaches the machine after noticing that it is sad, but the newcomer kicks him out. Nevertheless, he demonstrates his skills by making squares out of scrap metal. They communicate and say each other's names. However, the little robot's warning system is triggered, and he tries to warn his friend that there is a sandstorm approaching, but she believes he is trying to attack her. When the storm hits, WALL-E shrinks down and a few seconds later manages to carry the probe to his house to take shelter. Eva looks at all the objects inside the house and is startled by a talking fish. The little robot hands her new friend various objects, such as bubble wrap and a Rubik's Cube, which she solves in a few seconds. He also hands her a tape and shows her that there is a recording of people dancing, which makes the machine start scanning the TV. He tries to teach Eva to dance, but she uses all her strength and throws the little one against the wall, which smashes the woodwork of the house. The probe then finds a lighter and is fascinated by the flame coming out of it. At that moment, the robot looks at his friend in amazement and tries to touch her hand, but she pulls away. Eva scans the television again, but is interrupted by WALL-E, who catches her eye. He hands her a plant, which she examines, and this causes her system to crash, so she keeps the little plant inside her and turns it off. A leaf icon begins to glow on the little girl's body, but she remains unlit. At that moment, the robot has the idea of taking it to the roof in order to restart the system by getting energy from the light. A storm is approaching, so WALL-E uses an umbrella to protect Eva from the water. Later, he tries to discharge the probe to revive it, but receives a shock from a small explosion. After WALL-E gives up on awakening his companion, He walks through the scrap heap, taking her with him on a romantic stroll without her knowing. The next day, the little robot is surprised when the spaceship appears near his house. As he approaches, he notices a robotic arm coming out of the aircraft and capturing Eva. At the same moment, Wally asks the cockroach to wait for him on Earth and clings to a ladder on the outside of the ship, which takes off into space. He finds the room where his friend is, but realizes that she is still disconnected. The aircraft passes by the sun and some planets until it reaches a giant airbase, where they slowly enter. Several machines act at that moment and capture the Eve-like robots in order to transport them. What's more, they check everyone, but they don't recognize Wall-E's system, so they start to do some kind of cleaning on it and the probe is captured. The rusty robot follows its companion and enters a queue full of robots going in two directions. Along the way, Wally encounters sedentary humans who float around in armchairs while talking to each other through a computer screen. As one of the men tries to hand his cup to the little robot, he overstretches and falls off his chair. He can't get up, and several robots are activated to help him. Wally holds the cup of the human, who is called John, and introduces himself to him. They are interrupted by the little robot meeting Eva again in a vehicle. After reaching the transport, Wally asks a woman for permission to approach his friend. He then enters one of the buildings carrying the probe on a floating platform. When he reaches the top floor, a robot scans it and a passage opens in the floor, causing Wally to fall into a man's bedroom. At dawn, other machines appear and brush the guy's teeth, at which point Wally decides to give him a foot massage. Then the man's chair moves to an elevator and drags the robot along with it. The individual is the captain of the aircraft. He is very sedentary because the machines do all his tasks. Soon afterwards, the captain checks the ship's reports and discovers that the probe called Eva has returned with a positive result. At that moment, the pilot presses a few buttons, which starts a video in which a man instructs everyone to return to Earth in order to start the recolonization operation. He must place the plant in the ship's holographic detector so that the space base can be redirected to Earth. What's more, the captain and the other passengers must start exercising again to regain the right bone structure to survive on the planet. After a few minutes, Wally attracts the attention of the probe, which hides him as the robot shouldn't be there. Suddenly, another machine bursts in looking for Eva, whose system has been opened to remove the plant, but there is nothing inside. In this way, a robot tells it that the probe is faulty and takes it to the workshop. In addition, the population of the space base returns to the same situation it was in, as there is no plant to start the recolonization operation. The captain is startled when he comes across Wally, who gets dirt on his hand and is taken to the cleaners with his companion. The commander collects the dirt and takes it for analysis, discovering that there are various elements in the material and looking for information about the earth, water, and other elements of the world. While Eva is being repaired, the little scrap robot runs away from the machines and has his face painted by them. He is placed in a kind of cage where other problem robots are waiting. However, Wally notices that Eva is being taken to a more restricted location and this makes him uneasy. The motors perform some kind of test on the machine and it starts laughing. At that moment, Wally uses a laser to escape from his prison. He makes his way to the restricted area and breaks the protective glass. Wally then uses a gun, but his friend stops him from firing at the robots. However, the little robot gets in the way and fires the gun. The projectile hits the security system full on, and this frees all the faulty equipment that was trapped there. All the machines run towards Wally and thank him as they lifts him into the air. Afterwards, they run through the corridors in protest, but are stopped by security guards. The guards identify Eva and her friend as invading robots and send out a warning throughout the space station. The pair manage to escape and find a capsule, but a machine appears carrying the missing plant and leaves it inside the compartment. Wally enters the small aircraft and the door suddenly closes, so he is trapped just as the vehicle flies into space. Eva enters the ejection compartment in order to be thrown into space to reach her friend. A few minutes later, the little robot realizes that the capsule is in destruction mode. With only 10 seconds left before the explosion, he tries to use a fire extinguisher to break down the door. However, Wally doesn't manage to escape and Eva comes face to face with the catastrophe. Shortly afterwards, the little robot climbs out of the wreckage using the fire extinguisher to gain momentum. The robot managed to retrieve the plant, which his friend quickly put away. The couple hug each other happily, which causes their systems to spark from the touch. Inside the platform, John and a woman watch the pair of robots dancing. Then the humans touch hands and interact with each other. Wally and Eva sneak back to the platform. They manage to reach the captain and hand him the plant. At the same time, the man searches through the probe's recordings to see what the Earth looks like today. In the video clip, the ground is covered in rubble, unlike what the commander had imagined. Eva continues watching the video and realizes that her friend did everything to save her after she was deactivated. Meanwhile, Wally escapes from the place where he was hiding and enters a pipe, but doesn't realize that the robot cleaner is chasing his trail of dirt. At the same time, Otto demands that the commander give him the plant, because they can't go back to Earth. The camera shows the rest of the video, in which the president says that, due to toxic gases, life has become unsustainable in the world. What's more, the cleanup operation was a failure, so he left the responsibility for human life to the autopilots, who decided to remain in space forever. However, the captain discovers that the message was sent 700 years ago and that the situation may now have changed, as a plant has managed to grow on Earth. The commander tries to convince the robot that his real home is on Earth, but the machine believes that his argument is irrelevant at that moment. So the man decides to give an unquestionable order, but the devices revolt and steal the plant. Eva threatens her opponents and they throw the plant into the waste pipe. At that moment, everyone believes they have lost the leaf, but it appears floating in the hands of Wally, who climbs up the pipe. The automatic robots shock the little one, who falls down the pipe. What's more, one of them shuts Eva down and throws her in the trash. The machine wakes up in the midst of various trinkets, in a place where all the garbage is discarded into space. It searches for its partner, but is captured by a giant machine. Soon afterwards, the probe gets stuck in a square made of garbage and realizes that its friend is next to it, but they are both about to be ejected into space. At that moment, she uses her gun to escape and goes towards her partner to free him. The outer door is opened and they are pulled into space. At the same time, the cleaning robot appears and manages to lock the inner door of the ship, so Eva holds onto it. After the door is closed, the probe realizes that her companion is in a very bad way, and she looks for a new circuit board to fix it. However, Eva can't find a compatible one. On the other hand, Wally understands that they need to save the Earth first, and gives the plant to his friend, indicating that she should continue the mission without him. Even so, the probe prefers to fix it. The little robot insists that she save the Earth, so Eva holds him in her arms and they set off together with the cleaning robot. The aircraft's security guards are distracted when a faulty machine makes a mess on the platform, and are surprised when the wanted break in. As Eva and her friends make their way through the corridors, other equipment begins to follow them to help, and a team of security guards is assigned to hunt them down. In his office, the captain sees the security alert and realizes that the plant is in the same photo as the invaders. At that moment, he manages to transmit a live video and asks the heroes to take the plant to the pool deck, where he will activate the holographic detector. Eva and her friends are surprised when the guards block their way. The probe fires its weapon at the enemies, who return fire, but the defective robots also attack. Despite this situation, Eva and her companions win the battle against the security guards. At the same time, the captain transmits a video to lure Otto into his living room. He lies by saying that he has the plant, when in fact he only has a photo of it. When the evil robot appears, the commander hides in the dark, but attacks Otto, who also strikes the man and then drags him from side to side. The commander manages to activate the system to start the recolonization mission. Then a type of helmet is inserted into all the humans. The captain then broadcasts an announcement and warns the population that everything is under control while he fights Otto. At that moment, Eva and Wally appear and knock over the plant in the middle of the crowd. After the captain loses control of the aircraft, all the humans fall out of their seats and can't get up because they're too heavy. John and a woman prepare to hold some babies who are hurtling downhill at full speed. However, after saving everyone, a row of chairs falls towards the humans, and Eva uses all her strength to prevent a collision. The lead robot tries to lower the holographic detector, but Wally is underneath and he uses his own body to hold the platform. However, Otto uses all his strength to press the button on the device, which causes the machine to crush the little robot. On the other hand, the commander manages to stand up even though he doesn't have the bone structure for it. He moves towards Otto, who tries to protect himself, but the man grabs his gears and presses the off button. When the ship's stability returns to normal, Eva goes to Wally to save him. One of the allied robots manages to retrieve the plant, which one human passes on to another until it reaches Eva, who throws the leaf at the holographic detector. In a few seconds, the space base is transported to Earth, where the cockroach is waiting for his friend. After the aircraft lands, several doors are opened and the humans exit in a clumsy manner. On dry land, the cockroach finds his friend and Eva carries him back to his home. The probe finds some equipment to fix it. She changes its gears and even part of its face, as well as adding a few things. Eva fires her gun into the air to open a hole in the roof, and the sunlight reaches Wally, who recharges his energy. However, he doesn't recognize the probe, who shows him some toys that he presented to her the day they met. Even so, the robot only collects some garbage and does its job like a machine. As he walks towards the outside of the house, the little one runs over the cockroach and has no reaction, as if on autopilot. Eva intertwines her fingers with Wall-E's and touches his face, but nothing happens. However, just as she tries to pull away, the robot grabs her hand and calls her by name. At that moment, the probe realizes that its friend has finally recovered his memory, and the humans begin the process of recolonizing planet Earth. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.